before 2019, the ex-President Mahama stem, they started what you call, they signed an agreement with the Millennium Challenge Corporation for the Ghana's second power compact. And in that compact, we were told that there was the need for private sector participation. That administration exited power and the NPP came, and then they reviewed the terms, and there was a tendering process, and we were told that PDS won the bid, and the consortium was formed, PDS, Miracle was brought, and in 2019, for all of us, we heard that there was some kind of allegation of fraud, and the deal was terminated. And since then, we haven't heard of anything. Just recently, ex-President Mahama, speaking at a program in Accra, made a statement that there was a need for government to take a second look by way of ensuring that ECG is privatized. From where you sit, a first process was started and it was terminated. Do you think that we need to go back to this privatization of ECG, or something else ought to be done?
So what we need to look at is what is the objective, or what do we hope to achieve out of this privatization scheme. Like I've painted a picture, ECG, the biggest distributor, is inefficient in its operation, as a very weak distribution system as well, that is contributing to the energy sector debt that today is in excess of $4 billion for the entire sector.
You mean weak distribution or weak revenue collection?
You know, I'm talking about the distribution system.
Because people have power, but if you are not going to collect the money,
well, beyond that is not technical. I'm talking about the technical dimension of it. The commercial losses is what you just mentioned. That if you're unable to collect the money owed you, or the power you have sold to consumers, then of course you're making commercial losses as well. And so aside the technical losses from the transmission grid, they're also making commercial losses, and that's quite huge. So then it means that you won't have enough fund, or you will not be liquid enough to undertake upgrades, to do plant maintenance, and even respond to unplanned maintenance. And so the problem with ECG today is cash. What the private sector would do if we get one to come in partnership with ECG is that they're going to provide the needed fund to support the operation of the distribution leg. Aside that, the private sector come with some form of experience, and they will not be directly under government control, or if the control is there, it will be minimal compared to government appointing its own members of a political party, and it's easier for government to interfere with the operation. Look at the case of gold today. Gold is partly owned by private hands and partly owned by government. Government has a minority stake in that. And so the shareholders are very active in decision making. And they know that they need to create value for themselves and for every shareholder. And so decisions that are taken are more profit-oriented than
political decisions.
It's a political decision, where sometimes you have to push somebody to accept a penny because we need to score a political point or get votes. So the private sector will inject that efficiency that lacks in the system, that capital needed to retool their system, buy more, build more lines, build more transformers, and make the system strong enough to even withstand shocks. That's what the private sector will do, and make sure that the year-on-year losses being incurred for you and I as citizens to pay through increased taxes and levies will be a thing of the past or could be minimized.
Yeah, we know all this that you have just mentioned, that if there's private sector participation, there will definitely be an efficient. But how do we get that private sector participant to come on board? There was a process, and later on we're told that the process was not properly done, or there was fraud in that process. That was the allegation. So how do we get another private sector participant out? In the end, nobody will be told that there was fraud.
The fact that the PDS concession agreement with ECG the last time went bad and failed to follow due process, due diligence and all that, doesn't mean that we can give it another trial. If government is serious, I'm sure it might have learned its lessons from all this mishap, and getting another opportunity, they might get it right. What we have to do from the civil society level is not just to wait to see and report, but then to call on government to involve every Ghanaian, including civil society organization, including the media, in the process of privatizing that organization. So if there are any knots, we can raise the alarm earlier and forestall what we saw the last time. But if we still want to own ECG as Ghana government 100%, we'll be where we are today, and for many years. I'm sure we'll come back to this discussion after 10 years and we'll still discuss the inefficiency in the system and the debts, the burden bestowed on Ghanaians by ECG and NETCO.
Yeah, a new managing director was appointed not quite long ago, and then he has been part of the ECG board before his appointment. What can you say, and looking at the current state of ECG, is it somebody that you think, oh, he can manage the ECG, whilst we probably think about whether to privatize it or not privatize it? If there's efficiency, then there will definitely not be a need to privatize that organization. From where you sit as a civil society or think tank, do you see that he's trying to cut the shot?
Well, I can't speak for the new managing director. One can only assume that because he's been part of a board that has failed, and he knowing how they failed, getting the opportunity to be a managing director, he will take that those lessons learned to bring about changes. But you see, a managing director will only work with the resource at his disposal. ECG needs capital injection.
So does he have? Is not coming, don't you think
does he have
outside the box?
Does he have that very, the ability to engineer cash inflow for the organization? I can speak for him. He should be the one that should assure government and Ghanaians that, look, this is what I can do beyond the privatization. This is what I can do to bring about efficiency into the ECG system.
They formed the Ministry of Energy helped them to form a task force to collect cash. Don't you think that that could also help them to be somehow?
I'm sure it's also in the news that at some point in time, the task force was stopped from doing their work. In fact,
because they were
union workers have to take it upon themselves to go and disconnect one or two entities and all that. You see, the political interference is quite troubling, and that is what we say that, look, bring in private hands, cede some of your control to the private sector for them to have some form of control as well, and that balances the act in there. If you want to have 100% of zero, it's okay. But if you want to own 50% of, let's say, 10, I think it makes sense than owning 100% of maybe -10, not even zero, because ECG and NECO are making losses year on year.
Yeah, just I think two days ago or so, ECG issued a public notice, and they were encouraging Ghanaians to buy enough credit or power to ensure that they enjoy power continuously from now through the festive season and to even the new year. Some people are thinking that maybe they anticipate some problem. Is that what you also think?
No, not at all. Initially got to me as shocking, because you are going on Christmas holidays, you are encouraging people to buy power. It means that you will not be at post when
there's a problem.
There's a problem. Is that what you want to indicate? I can't speak for them, but maybe it could also be an attempt to mop up cash quickly, because you know, in Accra and its environs, most of the customers are prepaid. They pre-finance the cost of the electricity they consume, and so if they say buy more power, then probably they are trying to mop up cash for them, and that could also be a good angle to pick the news from. Yes, so I don't know the intention, but I want to be positive and say that they need more cash, so they want you to buy more so that they can use the cash today than to wait for you to exhaust your credits.
The managing director for Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NESCO, 3 days ago said the company is under serious threat, and sustainability is going to be a challenge, because in Tamale alone, people steal power, and if they're looking at their losses, Tamale alone accounts for about 45% of the losses, and a task force has been formed looking at their situation. What do you think could be done? I mean, this task force, even though it has been formed, what do you think could be done to make sure that that entity also comes out of their roots?
Well, for political reasons and expediency, we have pampered the customer for far too long. It's not just the case of NEDCO and the northern sector consumers of power, but lately we've been reading about Yellow Club and the area where some customers feel like we have the right to use the power for free because the founding father,
because the land belongs to us.
The land belongs to you. Then it means that somebody else also will come and say, okay, you mine gold from Amoasi and Ashanti region, so we will also have to enjoy this for free. Today's power sector is not like what it used to be. When we started generating power, it was from hydro and largely government owned. Today, almost 68% of the power consumed come from the thermal generation, and that's largely owned by the independent power producers. They have to be paid, or else one day they will just pull off the plug and the whole country will go in darkness. And so what needs to be done must be done. If we need to have a cost reflective tariff, so be it. If we have to collect the power we sell, we must collect, because we don't produce the power. Largely it's produced by private hands. And so if you choose not to pay for the power that you're consuming, you are only, should I say, you are delaying the payment of same, because one way or the other, when the energy sector debt builds up, you pay it through taxes and levies, maybe through fuel price increases. You will pay for it. So why not pay for it today? So the IES will encourage consumers of power to do the needful, to pay for what they consume, so that they can be assured of another round of power supply, reliable power supply. Even as we keep on, bashing the NEDCO, the ECG, you and I are also to be blamed, you mentioned, we steal power. We tamper with the meters. We defer the payments, or we choose not to even pay when we are even billed. And I think that is not, that will not help the industry. And so we must be supportive of government and the state-owned enterprise in the value chain, so that we can be assured of consistent, reliable power supply.
But why would you think that consumers wouldn't want to pay for power they are consuming when they know very well that if, for instance, I'm going to buy jende, that's onion, and I go to market, I cannot go and take the onion for free. I pay. But when it comes to power, they are not ready to pay. Do you think we, the entities, have not been doing well in terms of, creating much awareness that they must see power as a commodity like tomatoes, power as a commodity like onion, that you take money to go and pay before you enjoy?
It may be the case that awareness is not created by the sellers of the power, and in this case I'm talking about UCG and the NETCO. Just create the awareness, let them understand how vital that commodity is to you, the consumer, and how important as if for you, the distributor, to assure them of another round of supply. That's very important. But then we'll still come back to UCG and NETCO and say that, look, go and chase for your money, because giving me the opportunity as a consumer, I'll wait till you push me to the wall to pay. Yeah. I'll relax. It's a human nature. But you know how critical that cash is to you and your survival and the resilience of the distribution chain and the entire power sector. So you must go chase for your money. The system is collapsing. Even watch the prepaid system. As far as 2015, 2016, I had a smart prepaid meter in my house. You can't tamper with the meter. If you try, it communicates to a central command point.
They easily get it.
They will get to know. On daily basis, the meter communicates to me via phone, text, that this is how much power I've consumed and this is how much I'm left with. Over the past 1 year, I don't get that notification anymore. And so I have to go to a vendor and ask a vendor, check my distance, check how much I have. You're taking away that conveniency from the consumer. It's also troubling. And so we will encourage the distributors to pay particular attention to the billing area, the metering, push for more penetration of meters, prepaid meters, smart prepaid meters. That's the point to get to, so that you are able to tell how much power is leaving your switchyard and how much power consumers are taking, how much has been paid for in advance. It helps you with your own planning. Lately, we've seen in just a period of about 6 weeks or so, a total shutdown of their system, where you struggle to buy power. And that's a loss to them, because many houses went without power. It means that you were not selling your commodity and you are not getting money. That's why you will come today and say, tell Ghanaians that I'm going for holidays, so come and buy more power, because you are cash deficient. So we should be serious about our cash collection. And I'm talking to NETCO and UCG. They must be serious.